Good evening, good evening. Today is January 8th. It's a Wednesday, and I hope that you are having a blessed hump day and a blessed week so far, despite all of the disturbing news that has been out here in the media in the past week. This week has just really been rough, man, I'm telling you. There's a lot of news, man. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. A lot of destruction and whew, man, it's a lot going on, y'all. I'm going to work my way through these stories to get to the end of where I'm going with this. But I'm going to start with a few of these stories that I've been reading. First of all, there's a death from the bird flu down in Louisiana. There is somebody who did die from the bird flu in Louisiana. So, like I said, brace yourself. They're doing something. They're creating another pandemic. It's something that they're doing, and I think that whatever it is that they are doing, they are going to. This is the beginning stages, but I believe that it's going to be administered full blown during the tribulation period that's coming soon. I believe the tribulation is coming really soon, just based off of the stories that's out here in the media and all of this increased wickedness and all this intense weather that's happening. These birth pains, that's what it is. Like the Bible speaks about, these birth pains are getting worse and worse and worse. And it's just, we are at the breaking point. The water's about to break, y'all. The water is about to break. Like I said, with that bird flu, there has been a documented case of a death from the bird flu. Let me do something here. Okay, so it was in Louisiana, they say. And I'm trying to see who was it. Was it a man, woman, infant? Bird flu. They said it mutated. This bird flu mutated. It's mutating. But I don't know what it's. Whatever they're doing. So not only are we dealing with this bird flu situation, or the H8N3 or whatever they're calling it virus, we're also dealing with. I get them confused now. Okay, we have this bird flu. This is the first bird flu death reported in Louisiana. And that was first bird flu. Okay, this is 2025, first bird flu death of this year. The patient had been hospitalized with severe bird flu after exposure to a backyard flock and to wild birds. Well, what kind of wild bird? Oh, this was an elderly individual. Was hospitalized with the flu after exposure to a backyard flock of birds and to wild birds. And so there's been no other human cases, but he was elderly, and the H5N1 virus. And this was an elderly gentleman. They said he was over 65. But wild birds are they talking? What was he doing with wild birds? Let's see. Who died? CDC has carefully studied the available information about the person who died in Louisiana and continues to assess the risk to the general public. They said the risk to the general public remains low. So this person has some special circumstances, it seems like. Additionally, there are no concerning virologic changes actively spreading in wild birds, poultry, or cows that would raise the risk to human health. Okay, so why did this individual die? Well, because he was elderly? But anyway, There's been one confirmed case, one confirmed death in Louisiana from this bird flu so far. And then they're talking about this human metapneumovirus in China. China and India are re-implementing mask mandates over in their countries. So this human metapneumovirus is taking flight pretty much, and don't be surprised, because they can't create these things and try to confine it to one continent or to one country or to one group of people or to one specific population without it affecting the entire world. See, that's what they haven't figured out. How can they just kill off or commit genocide against one population of people without it not affecting the rest of the population? So whatever they're doing with this human metapneumovirus, it's going to affect the whole world again, just like COVID did. So we just gotta stay prayed up and be prepared for it, because this thing is taking legs and is sprouting wings and is taking flight pretty much. Here's a disturbing case. Oh, I don't know which one to start because they all are so sickening. Here's a case about a little boy who was found dead in a dumpster. This was in, let's see, his name is Jacoby. And he was found dead in a dumpster. And his parents were responsible for his murder. And it was something happening where the grandma tried to take custody of the little boy, but they ended up taking him from the grandmother and giving him back to the parents. His name was Jacoby. Jacoby Jones. Jacoby Boy. Yes, and this was in Colorado. This is grandma demands justice for the little toddler. Little Jacoby, he was 2. And he was left for dead in a dumpster. They got video of his mother dumping his corpse into a dumpster after they killed him. Gracie Martin is the grandmother. Okay, wait a minute, she's in Vegas. Okay, she's not in Colorado, she's in Vegas. And it says that Jacoby Robinson Jr., her grandson, was a sweet baby who enjoyed Cheetos. After his death and discovery of his body in a dumpster, she relives memory after memory. Deja Smith, age 23, and Jacoby Robinson Sr., his father, age 24, are charged with the murder of little Jacoby Jr., who was 2. Each faces additional charges of child abuse resulting in substantial bodily harm involving another child, records said. So they didn't just kill Jacoby and dump him in a dumpster and leave him for dead. They also had another child that they've been charged with child abuse. And so it says Gracie Martin, Jacoby's grandmother, which is the father's mother, said she last saw the grandson in 2023 of last year. And said that she tried to keep him, but for some reason, he was taken away from her. See, these 2 losers, the parents probably kept this little boy because they probably was getting some welfare and benefits and stuff off of him. And so that's why they wouldn't let the grandmother keep her. And see, they would also have to pay child support to the grandmother if they didn't have custody of him. So they didn't want him. They just probably wanted the benefits that they may have been getting off of this baby and the other child. And in the meantime, in between time, they're getting benefits off of them, but they're not capable of being loving, caring parents and to provide a safe, clean, comfortable home, loving home that these kids deserve. So these 2 dysfunctional demons beat these kids. So they beat little Jacoby to the point that they killed him. And when they killed him, they dumped his body in a dumpster near downtown Las Vegas is what this report has said. And this was on June 6, 2024. Jacoby's lifeless body was found in a dumpster near downtown Las Vegas. Smith is accused of dumping him there, but police believe the toddler died beforehand. Smith is the mother. What was her name again? Deja Smith. Yeah, that's the mother, 23. And the dad, Jacoby Sr., is 24. I don't know why. They took, and they both, on the mug shots, they both look nuts. They look demonic. They look nuts. He got tattoos all on his face, nappy head. He looks crazy. Both of them look crazy. This makes you so mad. So the grandmother, for some reason, they took this baby from the grandmother when she tried to keep him. And he winds up dead and in a dumpster because the loser, sorry parents put him there after they killed him. And she didn't know, the mother didn't know that that there was a video camera at that dumpster, because, you know, sometimes the dumpsters, commercial dumpsters, the big green dumpsters, sometimes businesses will put a camera, you know, at that dumpster to see if people are illegally dumping their trash in their dumpster. So she's so stupid, she didn't know that they had a dumpster. They had a camera over that dumpster, and it filmed her taking that baby, pushing that baby's corpse in a stroller, and dumping that baby's body in that dumpster. Y'all, that's what I said, when two idiots get together and create offspring, man, this is why my position on abortion, I struggle with that, because I would rather these two losers had got like a plan B or something, like a morning after pill, to prevent them from conceiving these kids, rather than bring these kids into the world to be beaten and abused and killed like these babies have been. So that's why I struggle with this abortion thing, because if they can give these fools, oh, forgive me, let me control my anger, but if they can give people like this plan B or some type of birth control to where they don't bring kids into the world, I am all for that, to keep them from even conceiving in the first place. But then again, some of these people, like I said, with this situation, from what it seems, they probably want the benefits, you know, that the babies come with. You know, they may have been getting welfare or something, and food stamps for these kids. And so when the grandmother tried to take the babies, they fought for the babies to keep them themselves, so they could continue to get that money, you know, the benefits for the babies. Because, you know, they'll get the welfare and smoke up and do drugs with the money, screw off the money, sell the food stamps for money so they can get high. But they, you know, then the kids are hungry and, you know, go hungry and get neglected and getting beaten and abused, and then wind up dead like little Jacoby did. That happens way too often. And a lot of times these cases don't get reported. And this is happening to millions of kids, millions and millions of kids all over the world, not just America, but this is happening to kids all over the world. So they've been arrested and locked up or whatever, but that's in Clark County, that's in Las Vegas. Jacoby was 2 years old. They found him, they dumped him in a dumpster and left him for dead. Own parents, biological parents. Then there is another case, and this is even more, I ain't gonna say more disturbing, because they're all equally disturbing, but this is another case. And I'm just telling y'all these, you know, I like to put these reports out there, because we have to know what's going on in this world and be aware of the things, of the wickedness that is around us, because scriptures say these things are going to happen. But in this case, this is the story of little Caleb Rowan Collins. This little baby was a 1-year-old little boy, beaten and hung to death by his own father. Little Caleb Collins. So Caleb Collins. This situation is really disturbing because it appears that little Caleb was being beaten and abused in his household with his siblings. And they had beaten little Caleb to the point that he was killed. He died. Graphic details, court records reveal torture, missing Fayette County toddler endured, and mother's extreme indifference to his life. Okay, so what has happened is this. He was being beaten and abused by this man that this mother was with, her fiance, Stephen Collins. The mother of the missing 1-year-old told, I hope this doesn't start playing. Okay. It says Fayette County investigators. You know what? He was going to kill him. Okay. Okay. Let me stop. Watch the video. I'm not going to watch the video if you want, because everybody's not going to be able to take this story. Okay, so the mother is the only one left alive in the situation. It was the mother, it was the father, Stephen Collins, and then it was the two children. The one of the child's name was Riley, little Caleb's 2-year-old sister, and then there's the victim, Caleb Collins, who was 1. Okay, so these children had been going through a lot of extensive child abuse to the point that little Caleb winded up dead. The father, Caleb's father, Stephen, told his mother, what is the mother's name? Whatever her name is, you can just watch it on if you want to watch the story. Told the mother that he was going to kill Caleb. And he did in fact kill Caleb and hung him, beat him and hung him. And then took pictures of Caleb's corpse lying dead on the floor and sent it to the mother. So the mother knew about it for weeks at a time, and they kept little Caleb's corpse with them. And so if something happened, it seemed like they're probably on drugs or they're crazy or something. Something happens that, all the while they were in possession of little Caleb's corpse, the father spazzes out while they're driving in the car. It's the father, the mother, and the little 2-year-old sister. And the father spazzes out and he starts speeding in the car. And they said that he caused a wreck. Because my thing is that with this, he knew that they killed that baby. He knew that little boy Caleb was dead. So he was trying to kill all the rest of them because he knew that they were in big trouble. So let's see here. The mother, her name is Wendy Pamela Jean Bailey, and she's 22. The father was Stephen Collins, who she calls her fiance. So they weren't married, but they had 2 kids that they were caring for, little Caleb and little Riley. And this woman, they said she's from Alabama, and she's the one only left alive because little Riley and Stephen died in the car accident. And the mother has been arrested and faces charges in the death of her toddler son, who is now believed to have been dead for months. So he had been missing, but he had been dead for months because they had killed him. So Wendy Pamela Jean Bailey, age 22, was charged Tuesday with aggravated child abuse, criminally negligent homicide, corpse abuse, and domestic violence, according to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. Little Caleb was last seen on September 4th in Winfield, Alabama, so they was down south. She then reported missing to the authorities, and who were later alerted only to concerns about his well-being after a car crash. See, so what happened is, little Caleb had been last seen in September, so they had held on to this baby's corpse because they knew that they had killed him. And so this car crash happened in December, like 2 months later. What has happened is this. It says the child's father, Stephen Collins, he's 40, she's 22, he's 40, who was driving at least 92 miles an hour when he went off the road and crashed into a tree. What it was that he knew that they killed that baby, and he knew that they was in trouble. They were trying to kill all of them, themselves and the little girl. But what happened is that they hit the tree. That he hit that tree head on, 92 miles per hour. He went off road and crashed into the tree, killing himself and the 2-year-old little Riley. That's what sparked the authorities to know what happened to little Caleb. That's when they found out about little Caleb, that they had killed him. So the mother is the only one left alive, and they've charged her. They're probably going to charge her, but they're charging her with Caleb's death. And probably abuse of the other little baby, of the sister, the 2-year-old sister. This is so disturbing, y'all. The sheriff's office said law enforcement was alerted by an unnamed family member a day later that the man and woman in the crash had another child who was unaccounted for. So a family member. And that's the thing, it'd be family members knowing that these people don't deserve these kids, don't need these kids. But sometimes the system fails them. It's either the family members fail them or the system fails these kids, or both. So the mother, Bailey, was released on December 30th and immediately transported from the hospital to the Fayette County Jail in the connection with the deaths of both of her children. They said she is accused of causing her daughter's death, who was not wearing a seatbelt or in a car seat at the time of the crash, failing to report the abuse of her son, Caleb, and showing extreme indifference to the value of little Caleb's life. They still have not recovered little Caleb's body, but they believe that he had been deceased for some time before the crash. And so she is being charged with Caleb's murder, whether she committed the murder or whether the dead father committed the murder, they don't know. But the mother is now being charged with Caleb's death and also with the death of her daughter because she didn't have her properly restrained in a child car seat because she was only 2. So they said they also arrested Caleb's grandfather, John Elton Bailey, who was also taken into custody for failing to report a missing child. They knew the child was missing, but they didn't report it. So all these people that knew about this and didn't do nothing about it, just sat on their butt and didn't do nothing about it, they arrested the grand. This is the first case that I've heard that them arresting a family member for their inaction. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. But they arrested the grandfather too for failing to report the child missing. Said that little Caleb, it said investigators allege in a claim against John Bailey that the child likely suffered serious bodily harm or death and was believed to have been removed from the home and taken to an unknown location. So they've buried him. They've disposed of little Caleb's corpse somewhere. A recently filed corpse abuse complaint revealed disturbing details about the torture Caleb endured in the days and weeks leading up to his presumed death. So wait a minute, they must have found his body because Bailey admitted to failing to intervene on more than 2 occasions. That's the grandfather. Failed to intervene on more than 2 occasions that Caleb Rowan Collins was physically abused by torturous means, as being bound with rope, physically assaulted, and being bound by a rope from a loft with blood and bruising present. She claimed that the dad sent her text messages saying he was going to kill little Caleb, and then sent her pictures of him hanging aloft with a rope with blood present on his body. And then they got a picture of the little girl, the 2-year-old sister who was killed in the car crash, little Riley. Oh my God. So yeah, the mother is the only one left alive in this case. And they also arrested the mother's father, who's also little Caleb's grandfather, because he knew that this baby was missing and he didn't report it to the authorities. But somehow there was some family member that told the authorities about this, and that's when they started investigating everything and they found out all of this happened. It says, according to the complaint, the mother replied, "He just looks wore out and tired and hurt. Hopefully that's all." It says, according to the complaint, the mother told investigators that upon the death of Caleb, his body was placed into a bag and stored in an outside storage building for a brief period prior to the disposal at an unknown location. Bailey is in the Fayette County Jail, and more charges are possible, according to the sheriff's office. So this is 2 kids that she's responsible for. She's going to get charged with. I wonder, do Colorado have the death penalty? Because not only did these kids suffer extreme child abuse, but both of these kids died. No, wait a minute, that was Alabama. Fayette County, that's Alabama. Alabama death penalty. Penalty. I wonder, does Alabama have the death penalty? Fayette County Jail. This is just wicked, just evil. Okay, so does Alabama currently have a death penalty? Oh, yes, they do. Alabama has a death penalty. I wonder if they're going to consider the death penalty for her. This don't make no sense. She's in a death penalty state, so we'll see what happens. But either way it goes, God is He's gonna deal with this, because this is just, man. So little Caleb, he's with God now. Him and his little sister, they're with the Lord now. And this is sad. 1 and 2 years old. So she's got two murders for 2 children that she's going to be charged with. So they're not through charging the mother. So, there was another case with the baby. There was little Caleb and little Jacoby. Oh yeah, this nurse in Virginia. They have arrested a nurse in Virginia. 26-year-old nurse in Virginia, in a hospital. She worked at a hospital in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, with little sick newborn babies in intensive care. And they said this woman, who was a white lady, 26-year-old white lady, has been charged with felony child abuse, just 1 count so far, because they're still investigating. Because they discovered that a little infant boy, newborn, he was a preemie, he was a newborn in the NICU where she worked, had a fractured leg. And so I guess they started digging back and investigating how this baby's leg got fractured. And so they started looking back, and they seen that there had been 7 more cases of babies suffering from injuries in that NICU, and they all had contact with this one particular nurse who is in jail right now while she worked there. One of the babies that was in the NICU died, and said that baby had 12 fractures. So this case is still pending, and they're still investigating. She only has 1 count of felony child abuse because of the little baby, the little twin boy. The little twins' names were Noah and Micah. And the baby that died, guess what? His name was Caleb. So that is the most crazy, disturbing part about all of it. Noah and Micah were twin boys. They're named after the prophets Micah and Noah in the Bible. Caleb was named after Caleb, one of the men in the Bible who trained under Joshua And I think it's in Genesis. They mentioned Caleb. But anyway, Caleb. He was a warrior who trained under Joshua. And he was part of Israel's army. He was a warrior. These babies had biblical names. But and the even more disturbing part of this story is that this was a white nurse, and these babies were black. So not only will she be charged with child abuse and possibly the death of little Caleb, but she will also be brought up probably on federal hate crimes because these babies were black. But I posted the story up there. Y'all can read it. But this is you just can't make this stuff up. You just wonder how on earth can a person who took a vow to do no harm, that is like the Hippocratic oath that these medical people take. I know doctors take the Hippocratic oath, but the people in the medical profession, they take an oath to do no harm, and you are a nurse. Excuse me, y'all. This was a nurse now, working in the neonatal ICU, working with sick newborn babies. How more helpless and vulnerable can a human being be than a sick newborn baby in the intensive care unit? And you hurt these babies? Ugh. And get this, they brought up an investigation on her before and placed her on administrative paid leave for I think a year. And so they're looking into why this happened, that this lady was not immediately reported to the nursing licensing board and relieved of her license and revoked of her license and relieved of her duties. They put her on paid administrative leave. But this case is still pending. But yeah, white nurse, black babies, and they said it's up to 7 of them that they think that she's responsible for injuring, serious injuries, newborn babies, sick newborn babies in the ICU. And they said they also stop admitting babies to that. It's called the Henrico Doctors Hospital. That's out of Virginia. They stopped even admitting babies into that hospital after this report broke in the media. They don't even send babies there anymore because of this demon nurse that was working with these kids. And you know that hospital is probably going to get sued out of business. It's going to probably just close after this because nobody's going to want to deliver any kids at this hospital at this point or be associated with this hospital in any way. So that's an ongoing investigation. But I got the news story up there. This is just terrible. Who sick babies in ICU? Henrico, Henrico, Doctor's Hospital. That's what it's called. And that was out of Virginia. And they said this just so happened all these babies were black, and this is a white nurse. And she was doing this to these babies. Let's see what her name is. Her name is, she's 26-year-old Elizabeth Ann Strotman of, what's her name, of Chesterfield County. And they only charged her with malicious wounding and felony child abuse. But, like I said, she's being held without bond because there are other cases pending. And she probably killed this little baby Caleb that died, that was in the NICU. And that baby winded up passing away. But that baby had 12 fractures, they said, and that baby died. Oh, my goodness. There was another case of a doctor. what was this case out of Tampa Bay? A Tampa Bay doctor was charged with, and his name was, hold on, let me go back to the story. These are people in the medical profession. Stephen Leedy. This is a medical doctor. He was arrested because he was charged with producing child sexual abuse materials and enticing minors to engage in sex abuse. But this is not the most disturbing part. He would get these kids, these minors. This man is 59 years old. He's out of St. Petersburg, and he's got 3 counts of production of child sex abuse material and 2 counts of coercing or enticing a minor to engage in sexual activity. If convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of life in federal prison. But what he would do is, he's a palliative care doctor. So he was dealing with people who were terminally ill patients. And he would solicit, they said he solicited 10 minors online and directed them to cut, choke, and hang themselves. So in November 2022, minor victim number 1 was discovered deceased, having hanged herself in front of her phone in a manner consistent with instructions Leedy had previously provided her. So he gave them instructions on how to commit these masochistic, BDSM type crimes or acts, and he was deriving some type of sexual pleasure from these sadistic acts that he would get these kids, these minors, to do online and make videos of themselves cutting, choking, and hanging themselves. So this minor victim, number 1, she did it, and did it with her phone, and killed herself. And so this doctor, 59 years old, has been charged with soliciting minors to engage in these type of acts and videotape themselves doing it, video record themselves doing it, and producing child pornography and getting some type of sick pleasure. There are actually groups out here, groups of people that derive some type of sick pleasure of watching this type of stuff. This guy is 59 years old and was a doctor doing this type of stuff. I just don't. But then I see why stuff is happening the way it's happening, though. I wonder what would he say to get these kids to do this type of stuff. That would he threaten to harm them, harm their families? What could he possibly tell these kids to entice them to do something like this? That's just to produce sexual abuse materials. He probably distributes it on the dark web or something. So he used the name on the internet as Maximum Uncle #9112 to sexually exploit and victimize approximately 10 minors online. A doctor! They said that one of the victims was as young as 11 or 12 years old when she first started talking to Leedy. In November 2021, the U.S. Attorney's Office says one of the alleged victims, a 13-year-old girl, was found dead in her bathroom after she hung herself in front of her phone in a manner consistent with instructions Leedy had given her in the past. According to court documents, Leedy's conversations with other minors on a social media app also revolved around the production of child tapes and self-harm. Investigators say Leedy hid behind the cloak of anonymity by either lying about his identity or using a black screen in video calls with the victims. They say Leedy allegedly asked at least one victim to refer to him as "my lord." Oh, Oh, wow. The Holly Springs Police Department arrested Leedy several days before Christmas. A spokesperson said the department says they received a be on the lookout, a bolo for Leedy, and he was taken into custody during a traffic stop. And I put the video up there of them chasing him down in traffic and arresting him. The video is up there. This is a demon. He told one of the babies to call him my Lord. You know this is of the, yeah. This was a living, breathing demon. So that he was taken into custody by the FBI in Atlanta. And yeah, he's expected to be extradited and transported back to Tampa. But he'll face life in prison. And that's it, you know. And they say federal time is easier to do than state time, so he probably don't care. He probably don't care. He had a wife. So the wife works for the Juvenile Welfare Board in Pinellas County. These people be normal. They be professionals. And get this, he worked as a palliative care doctor in a place called Empath Health. Empath Health. He worked in hospice care. One Empath 7 hospices for 5 years, with his employment ending more than 10 years ago. He actually worked in hospice care with people. And his wife works for the Juvenile Welfare Board in Pinellas County. I wonder if she knew about it. So we recently learned that Dr. Stephen Leedy was indicted and arrested on charges of producing child abuse materials. And his wife, Linda Leedy. Oh, it said it comes as a shock to his wife, Linda Leedy, who served as Chief Administrative Officer of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County for the past 10 years. She worked with juveniles. She worked in the juvenile court. And her husband was doing these type of things. Says she doesn't work directly with children in her role, but she is required to pass a level 2 background screening. So they're going to probably investigate her to see if she knew anything about this or had any type of knowledge of this. But either way it goes, this woman is not going to be able to stay at her job or in her community because she's going to be so ostracized. And that's so sad. Her husband's crimes are going to be imputed to her. So she's not going to be able to remain in her job or in her community, more than likely. If she didn't have anything to do with it. That is, even if she didn't have anything to do with it, she's not going to be able to stay, you know, in her position or in her, you know, in her community, because this is just too embarrassing for their family. He probably didn't care. If he can do this to kids, he probably did not care how this affected his wife, his kids, his family, or nobody. He didn't care, because this is a sick individual. This type of stuff, they said, is like one of the hardest criminals, or one of the hardest crimes, or one of the hardest dysfunctions of the brain to rehabilitate. Kids, people that like to do stuff to kids, they said that it's one of the hardest things to rehabilitate, because that is a severe reason why it is because they're applying academic and secular psychological treatment, you know, remedies and things like that, treatment methodologies, I guess. And they don't understand that this, like I said, with working with substance abuse and alcoholism and things like that, I always say that the reason why it has a high recidivism or failure rate is because, or relapse rate, is because There's no spiritual element in any of it. God is not in it. So all that secular stuff, when it comes to people that like to harm kids, that's a severe demonic possession that no textbook, no medication, no castration, no incarceration is going to be able to cure. That's a demonic possession that only God himself can treat and cure and eliminate. So that's my soapbox on that. Let me get off of it. But these people are sick. There's a lot of sick individuals in this world. Just a doctor, a nurse, they hurting these kids and these teenagers. Okay, so what else, y'all? Let me see. I ain't been on here in a few days. And boy, you miss a day, you miss a lot. You miss a day, you miss a lot. I miss a couple of days. And all this foolishness. There's a case here where I'm at here in Kansas City. We know we're dealing with all this snow and ice down here, but there's a case here in Kansas City with this guy, this former police officer. His name is Golubsky, and he's a Kansas City police officer who was on trial. Well, he was going to go on trial for sexually abusing low-income black women in Kansas City, Kansas. And so the rapper Jay-Z, his company, he had his lawyers, his team, it's called Team Rock or something. He has a team of lawyers who were looking into this corruption within the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, into this particular case. They were investigating this and looking into this case. Jay-Z's attorneys, Jay-Z, Golubsky. So this coward, guess what he does? He commits suicide a day before he was to go on trial for his crimes. He kills himself. Yeah, he dies by suicide on the day of his trial or the day before his trial. It says ex-Kansas detective dies by suicide as long-awaited criminal civil rights trial set to begin. So they only brought him up on civil rights charges. They didn't bring him up on rape. It says a disgraced former Kansas City police detective about to stand trial on charges that he kidnapped and raped 2 women decades ago was found dead in his home Monday morning. Authorities discovered the body of Roger Golubsky, 71, after he failed to show up for jury selection in his long-awaited trial in Topeka. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, they say he died. The coward killed himself, pretty much. Because he was a cop and he's going to go into jail as a rapist, sex offender, and a former police officer. He knew he was good as dead anyway, so he went on ahead and took himself out. But they said they found him on his back porch dead of a gunshot wound. He put a bullet in his head. He lived in Edwardsville, Kansas, which is probably like a half hour away from Kansas City. But he was scheduled to go on trial in Topeka for civil rights violations. But like a coward, he killed himself. So it says the retired detective was accused of using his position as a police officer in Kansas City, Kansas. So he retired as a detective. But this is while he was a KCK police officer. He was KCKPD. That he would sexually assault vulnerable black women over the course of decades. Prosecutors said in court filings that Golubsky handpicked these women. He handpicked his victims because he was confident they would never be believed. So I put the video up there of one of the victims who was being interviewed. Golubsky denied the allegations, and his lawyer suggested in court filings that his accusers were fabricating their claims or parroting old unproven allegations or rumors. Following a lengthy investigation conducted largely in secret, federal authorities filed a pair of indictments against Golubsky in the fall of 2022. The second case accused him of being in cahoots with a drug kingpin and the sex trafficking of underage girls. Oh, the allegations against Golubsky came to light as a part of a civil case against him and his former department, alleging that he framed a Kansas City teenager for a double murder in 1994. This was a demon. This is why Jay-Z and him was on this. He framed a Kansas City teenager. Jay-Z probably was going to make a documentary or something about this. It was a civil case against him and his former department alleging that he framed a Kansas City teenager for a double murder in 1994. The man, Lamont McIntyre, was released from prison in 2017 after more than 23 years behind bars. The parties settled the case in June 2022 with county officials agreed to pay the McIntyres $12.5 million. Neither Golubsky nor officials from his former department acknowledged any wrongdoing in connection with the case. So a man did 23 years because this demon, rapist, demon, corrupt, crooked, dirty pig cop, who retired as a detective, so he received promotions over the years, retired as a detective, probably had a good pension, been raping poor black women, engaging in trafficking, human trafficking, and framed this young man for murder and cost him 23 years of his life. This demon did all of this stuff. And he was set to go on trial just for civil rights abuses instead of raping these women and framing this young man for murder and human trafficking. They just brought him up on civil rights charges. I wonder who else is connected and tied with this. Where are they charges at? But this is why they're messing with Jay-Z. Because Jay-Z sued the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department for records because they were trying to stonewall his team of attorneys from asserting their Freedom of Information Act, or they call it Sunshine Laws, where they requested documentation and records of these crimes, and the KCKPD were stonewalling Jay-Z's team of attorneys, Team Rock. That's why they're messing with Jay-Z now. That explains why they're messing with Jay-Z. Same reason why they messing with Diddy, because Diddy bucked that Diageo liquor company. And then Jay-Z is pushing this whole Golubsky scandal. And plus Jay-Z sued a liquor company too, so that explains why they are gunning for them, why they're targeting them now. Because Jay-Z's attorneys was on this case. To the point this coward killed himself, put a bullet in his head because he knew he was a done deal. So they had been watching and investigating this guy. Another dirty, crooked cop makes it look bad for the rest of the decent police cops, police officers and detectives out here. One bad apple ruins it for the rest of the whole police force. Makes all of them look bad. Everybody, I know all of them are not like this. This is why they need to root out and get these people out of these positions. It says it in the article too. It says the allegations against Golubsky date back in the 1980s. It said the local newspaper, the Kansas City Star, covered the case and won a Pulitzer Prize. The columnist won a Pulitzer Prize behind the journalism involved in this case. Rap mogul Jay-Z's social justice nonprofit Team Rock even took out a full-page ad in the Washington Post characterizing the situation as one of the worst examples of abuse of power in U.S. history, because this guy did all of it, framing people, raping people, human trafficking. This was really swept under the rug because I live here in KCK and didn't know a lot about this case, because they were the police department and I guess the feds or whatever, they were stonewalling Jay-Z and the Kansas City Star with the records and the paperwork. They were trying not to give them the paperwork, and Jay-Z and the case and the paper had to sue to get them to release a lot of the records and the documentation surrounding this case. But yeah, this is crazy. This coward killed himself. So he's still going to face justice. I don't care. He thought he got away. He got away with nothing. Now it was better that he lived and served out his time in prison versus killing himself, because now he's going to eternally pay for his crimes. So it could have been a possibility that he lived, repented, got saved, and been forgiven for these things. But since he did this, there is no redemption. There's no redemption now. He could have had redemption had he faced the music and faced justice on this side of salvation. But since he chose to do it on the other side of salvation, it's a done deal now. He's a done deal. There is no redemption for him. But I wonder if there were others involved along with him. That's something that hopefully maybe Jay-Z's team and the Kansas City Star will be able to find out who all were complicit with him, who were his co-conspirators in these crimes. But that's the reason why they're messing with Jay-Z now. That explains a lot. What else? Sonya Massey's murderer. The cop that murdered Sonya Massey. The lady who was holding the pot of water and he shot her in the head. He's trying to get out on bail. And it looks like they might grant him bail. The Illinois Supreme Court is waiting to rule on the decision to grant this demon bail for killing this woman. They're supposed to decide on January 13th, I believe, whether to give him a bond for killing Sonya Massey. Y'all, don't be surprised if they don't let him out. He's more than likely going to get out, because he's going to use the defense with Sonya Massey as if he thought she was going to throw this hot water on him because she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And he thought that when she said that, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," that she was going to throw the water on him. That's going to be his defense. But with that video, you can see that Sonya Massey was not throwing that water on him. She was dumping that water out. She was not going to throw that water on them. Sonya Massey had the water boiling because she thought that there was a prowler around her house. The water she was boiling was for the prowler. But when the police came, she forgot about the water, or she didn't think about the water until the cop told her to turn the water off because he didn't want her to burn the house down. And so Sonya got up to get the water off the stove and cut the water off, turn the fire off. And he's trying to make like he was scared for his life and threat that she turned that water off and got that water off the stove after he told her to do it. And the woman, if you can see in the video, she didn't threaten him with that water whatsoever. This was just an evil demon that wanted to murder somebody that night because he didn't have the skills spiritually, mentally, professionally, in any kind of way to handle a severely mentally ill woman, black woman who was in distress. He didn't know how to handle her. And his hatred and his racism and his prejudice probably further enticed him to murder her. And that's what he's going to use as a defense, that he thought that she was going to throw the hot water on him. She had that hot water boiling because she thought it was a prowler at her house. And she forgot all about that water until he reminded her that water was on that stove and for her to cut it off. But he's going to use that defense. It's a weak defense, but he's going to use that as his defense. But don't be surprised if they don't let him out of jail, because I'm telling y'all, and I know y'all don't like to hear this, but the truth of the matter is, and the reality of life in America as an African American individual, is that your life is less valuable than a dog or a cat to a lot of people in this country that are not black. They value an animal. They value a dog or a cat more than they do the life of a black person. That's just a sad reality, unfortunately. So don't be surprised if this man does not get bail and get out. And he might even get acquitted. Or if he gets convicted, it's going to be on a lesser offense, such as manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter or something, if that is only if he gets convicted. So that's just a sad reality. It's exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting just knowing this type of evil is out here. It really is. It weighs you down. It wears you out mentally. And it just drains your energy just to know that we're around this type of evil. But this is what happens in the end times. It says they're going to wear out the saints. They're going to wear you out. There were 4 Tren de Aragua members apprehended at the Texas border who tried to blend in with the migrants and sneak across the Texas border. They were apprehended. They were members of Tren de Aragua. Also, there is a new migrant caravan, thousands of migrants that are headed toward the United States trying to beat January 20th when beat Trump getting into, being inaugurated into office. They're trying to hurry up and race to the border, run to the border, and get into America, break into the country before Trump takes office. And right now there's a new migrant caravan down at the U.S. border, down south, trying to get over here into the country before Trump gets in office. Because what they're going to do is once they get over here, they're going to hide deep off they're going to scatter all over the states, all over the country and hide. They may have relatives that are actually legal over here. And they're going to live with legal relatives. And they're going to hide deep off they're going to scatter all over the country. But they're trying to hurry up and get in here. Thousands of them are trying to hurry up and get over here before Trump takes office. And I put the story up there of them in a caravans of them, thousands of them trying to get over here and race against time before he takes office. That's another case. This is a long video. There's a lot going on. Long video. There is also the earthquake in Tibet. They are still trying to recover people. They're still looking for hundreds and hundreds of people who are missing from the earthquake in Tibet. There's a lot of them trapped under the rubble. They said there are hundreds still missing. They said there are at least 126 people who had died from this earthquake. It was like a 6.8 or a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. It's Tibet, China. They get hit a lot over there. And they're looking for survivors right now. The death count right now as it stands is 126 and is expected to rise. The more that they find people trapped under the rubble over the coming days or whatever, expect that death toll to rise. So they don't know still what's causing these wildfires out in California, because right now there are 4 or 5 wildfires. They're calling them brush fires right now in California. 4 or 5 of them. And I think only one of them may have been contained. But right now, as we are speaking, Los Angeles, Hollywood, Malibu, Santa Ana, Pasadena, Pacific Palisades, it's all on fire right now, burning. And they're saying that because of the winds are so high, like 80 miles per hour, hurricane strength winds, they said that fire is hard to contain right now. And they're running out of water. And the fire is raging in areas where celebrities have multi-million-dollar homes. Pacific Palisades is one of the most affluent communities in California. A lot of celebrities have lost their homes. A lot of regular people have lost their homes, but see, with the celebrities, they have an advantage to where they have money, they have millions of dollars, they can rebuild, and it won't hurt them because they have millions of dollars. Regular people, not, they're not going to be as fortunate. But it just so happens that this fire is affecting some of the most affluent communities in California, Hollywood, Pacific Palisades, Malibu. I think they said they evacuated Calabasas. All of these little celebrity enclaves where they go and they live and thinking that they can hide from the world, these little secluded, affluent areas by the water. Right now it's burning down. And it just made me think, there's a video on here that I posted on here. It's in West Hollywood. And there's like this billboard of RuPaul, big old billboard. And then there's all this fire surrounding it and all this smoke. And it shows the city burning and this billboard of RuPaul's Drag Race show. Sitting tall, standing tall up in West Hollywood with all this smoke and fire around it. And it made me think about the time that I was out there. And it looked like the same area. I was on Sunset Boulevard, I believe, or Wilshire. And there was a billboard. And I think there was a movie out called Damnation. And I just so happened to look up at that billboard back then. And that's where it was, a big old black billboard with the sign. It was a black background with white letters, Damnation. And I was just like, I looked at it. And I was just like, a voice inside me said, get out of here. You've seen, I was just like a tourist thing for me. I was just out there just looking, and a voice, when I looked up and saw that sign, a voice, when I looked at it, the voice just said, okay, you came, you saw, now get away from here and don't come back. Because I wasn't impressed. I went, and went to Hollywood. Went to see what Hollywood and Bel Air and Beverly Hills was all about. And I just looked and I just went and I just toured all the areas out there to see just what the big deal was. And I wasn't impressed. I'm like, is this it? That was my whole impression, was like, is this it? Like, is this what everybody is just so... I wasn't impressed. And when I saw that Damnation sign, it's just something inside of me said, get out of here and don't look back. Don't come back here no more. Because it ain't nothing. It's nothing. But anyway, yeah, that's what when I saw that RuPaul billboard, that it took me back to that day when I saw that Damnation billboard. It's just so funny. It immediately took me back to that day. But I got the video of the RuPaul video on here. But that's what it reminded me of, that it took me back to that day. Because it doesn't surprise me that what's going on out there now in that area, in Hollywood and Pacific Palisades and in that area, and burning down those mansions and all that stuff, it made me think about how this past Christmas season and Halloween, all those Wicked movies came out. What was the first one? Wicked, that movie. And they had the dolls that had the Wicked.com that sent the kids to the porn website with, the packaging with the dolls from the Wicked movie. And they had Wicked.com on the package that direct the kids to a porn website called Wicked.com. From that Wicked movie, that was released, I think, around Halloween. Then, remember the Krampus movie about the demons that come out on Christmas to punish the bad kids or something, go to kids' houses and punish the kids on Christmas who have been naughty for the year. Krampus, very demonic, and they hold these Krampus parades around Christmas time. But they had a movie that came out called Krampus. Then there was the Dear Santa movie, where the boy misspells Santa and writes a letter to Satan. And that movie starred Jack Black, who always liked to play with demonic, satanic activities. That movie came out this past Christmas. And then what was the other? It was Dear Satan, it was Wicked, it was Krampus, and Dear Santa. Those were the three Wicked movies. And then the Kim Kardashian video that she made, where she just flat out just is the most satanic, blasphemous, wicked video that she made for Christmas, singing Santa Baby, that Marilyn Monroe made famous, that that Marilyn Monroe sang, because she seems to think she's Marilyn Monroe, or she wants to be like Marilyn Monroe, which she doesn't have near about the talent. At least Marilyn Monroe did have talent, but she has this obsession with Marilyn Monroe. And so she made this demonic Santa Baby video. And I saw another video on YouTube where somebody broke down that video and said that video is actually directed by her sister's husband, Travis Barker, and another man who is also a Satanist, an avowed Satanist. And that person backed up their information by showing this Satanist guy's Instagram. Matter of fact, let me don't talk about it. Let me be about it and tell y'all exactly who this guy's name is. But this guy is an actual Satanist who directed Kim Kardashian's Santa Baby video with Travis Barker. And you can look at Travis Barker and tell that he's demonic with all them tattoos and stuff all over him. Matter of fact, Travis Barker used to date Kim Kardashian, but now he's married to her sister, Kourtney Kardashian, and got kids by her, I believe. These women actually go behind each other. Sisters actually go behind each other, sleep with the same men that their sisters slept with. It's too many people in the world to go behind your family members. I'm sorry. Too many people. There's millions and millions and millions of men in the world. And you got to go behind somebody that's been with your sister. But anyway, I'm going to show y'all. It said this man was a Satanist who directed this video. Wait, okay. Director was Travis Barker, and there was another man. Producer. He was the producer or the director. But anyway, I said all this to say this. This stuff should not surprise you, because these type of things, they do these type of blasphemous things, and it just shouldn't surprise you, because let me see, Charlie Dennis. Is it Charlie Dennis? Directed by Nadia Lee Cohn and Charlie Dennis. I think Charlie Dennis might be the Satanist who directed the video. But it doesn't surprise me that this fire happened, because there had been so much disrespect of God this past Christmas season with these movies, so satanic movies, that movie Wicked during Halloween with the kids and the dolls. There was just too much going on that that fire does not surprise me, not one bit. Santa Baby, a film directed by Nadia Lee Cohn and Charlie Dennis. Charlie Dennis must be the Satanist guy. CHRLIEDENIS. And this guy holds up like the Satan symbolisms and all that stuff. This guy is straight up wicked. And that's who directed this video, where they have images of Jesus and Mary, and it's just very evil. And they did this, around Christmas time. So it doesn't shock me at all that that fire is happening. Because God is the type of God that you mock him and think you're going to play with him and disrespect him, God will burn down the fire department. Like they said is happening out there in California. God will burn down the fire department. Don't play with him. So, this is the guy's name, CharlieDennis.com. And he's a straight up Satanist. He directed this video with Travis Barker. He directed this Kim Kardashian video. So, Santa Baby. And then, like I said, Jack Black did the Dear Satan or Dear Santa movie. And then, what's her name? Ariana Grande and Cynthia Arizo. That's the lesbian, in an open lesbian relationship. They did the Wicked movie. And then that Krampus movie with the Christmas demons or whatever they are. All this stuff, all these things was released and happening this past Christmas and Halloween season. So this fire does not surprise me not one bit that this is happening. So it's just time. God is just burning Hollywood down. Pretty much it's time for Hollywood to be destroyed. I already knew this was happening anyway. The whole celebrity culture and all that stuff is dying. So all these you see all these geriatric rock stars and singers and rappers and actors and stuff. These people are like 55 and 60 years old, 40, 45, 55, 60, 50 years old, still trying to dress like they 25, 20, 18, acting like teenagers and stuff. You see senior citizen rappers throwing up gang signs. These rappers have grandkids. They have grown kids, like in their late 20s, early 30s. And they're in the club with their kids. And they're on stage. Drinking, getting drunk on stage. Throwing up gang signs. Rapping like they're 25 years old. Like they're 20 and 25 years old. And these rappers are like in their late 40s, early 50s. Some of them even push 60 and still doing this. Because they have to serve the devil for the rest of their lives. Just like the rock stars. You see Mick Jagger. All these old rocks. I mean the old ones. I mean when I say old, and I'm not discriminating, all the Tina Turners and the Patti LaBelles and Aretha Franklins and all of them, if you really look at them, they all of them have to serve the devil for the rest of their lives. Mick Jagger, Elton John, all of them, when they died, David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Prince, all of them, they end up having to serve Satan for the rest of their lives. They will be performing and doing the things that they do until the day that they die. You see women in Hollywood, 40, 50, 60 years old, got kids and stuff, and they're half naked on stage. And this is a mother with children. Some of them even married. Look at Denzel. He's now saying that he's retired. Just got baptized. And how you just get baptized and then become a preacher, I don't see how that, that to me, that didn't make sense. But that's Kojic. I don't understand a lot of things at Kojic, Church of God in Christ, that denomination. I don't understand a lot of things they do. That's what turned me off from even joining Kojic, even though I got family members who are lifelong Kojic members, and there are some good, decent Kojic congregations or churches out here, but Kojic as a whole just really turned me off because they're too close to the world for me. They're too friendly with the world, in my opinion. But anyway, Denzel just got baptized and then he got his minister's license. That ain't how it worked. That's not how it worked. You don't be a new babe in Christ and become a minister, because that's not how it works. Because if, like I explained before in a previous video, when Paul got first converted, and Paul was an educated man, he was an attorney and a member of the Sanhedrin. He didn't immediately start his ministry when he first got converted and delivered. Paul had to train under the other apostles, Peter and I think it was James. Paul had to train up the other apostles before he started his ministry. You don't get baptized and then all of a sudden you're a minister. So, I don't know. Denzel was a preacher, so that doesn't make sense to me that Denzel grew up as a preacher's son in the Kojic church. But you 70, 69 years old and you just now getting baptized and becoming a preacher? That doesn't make sense to me. Are you doing this for a movie role? Are you doing like Kanye? Are you playing with God? Are you doing this just for a movie role? Because Kanye has already shown that he was just, and you know what? G. Craig Lewis, the pastor out of Dallas, Texas, EX Ministries, he had already been telling people with Kanye, he said he's only doing this. He said it's not real. Don't be deceived. And he was telling everybody with Kanye, he said he's only doing this to promote an album. And he even had me fooled. Kanye had me fooled. But then I realized that that's exactly what Kanye was doing, because right after that album was released, and you know, as time passed, he's walking around with this woman, a naked woman, in public. This woman is practically naked walking around in public, and this is Kanye's so-called quote-unquote wife. You just made a gospel album, and now you're doing this. And then he released Vultures. You know, there's lots of people. Sometimes even we get fooled and deceived sometimes, and we just really got to pray and ask God for discernment, wisdom and discernment, you know. But Kanye had me fooled. But Denzel, are you playing with God? Like, are you doing what Kanye's doing? Are you playing with God? Because how can you be a preacher's wife, a preacher's son, and you've been a member of the Kojic church, but you just now getting baptized at 69? And then as soon as you get baptized, you get your minister's license? Just seems too performative to me. It's way too performative. Like I told y'all with these celebrities, believe none of what you see them do, even in their staged personal lives. Like I told y'all, they will call the paparazzi and stage some stuff and make it look like it's spontaneous when it's really staged. So I'm like, okay, Denzel, what are you doing? Because you don't get baptized and then become a minister. I'm not God. I don't know. But at this point, with Denzel being baptized, you can't go back to making movies. I mean, we'll see. Does he go back to making movies? Do you go back to directing and producing movies in Hollywood that promote violence and sex and all of the debauchery and stuff that Hollywood stands for? All that satanic stuff? Now that you've been baptized and you so blood-washed, born again, baptized in the name of Jesus Christ, do you go back to that? Are you the dog that returns to his vomit and go back to doing what you were doing in Hollywood? You're a married man and you kissing women and stuff in your roles. Do you go back to that? Because I'm not understanding it. You know, anytime a person comes to Christ, you know, we're supposed to rejoice. I'm getting the hiccups. You're supposed to rejoice, but I'm not understanding all this stuff. I'm not understanding this whole thing with Denzel. Was this a performance? Was this for a movie role or what? Is it real? Or are you pulling a Kanye? I don't play with these. I don't play with nobody to play with God. I just don't. I don't play with nobody. Play with God. I don't respect no celebrity. I'm like God. I am no respecter of persons. I don't care if you're a celebrity, if you're a singer, if you whatever you are. I don't care if you're the president. I'm no respecter of persons. Don't play with God. But anyway, speaking of the president, Trump says that he is going to consider using military force to invade Greenland, the Panama Canal, or to acquire the Panama Canal, Greenland, and Canada. To me, that's delusions. Delusions of grandeur. He thinks that he is Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, but he's not. This is not North Korea. This is not Russia. And he is not going to be able to do these things. He thinks that he's going to be able to get America into another war by trying to acquire Panama Canal, Greenland, and Canada. First of all, Canada and Greenland are not interested in being a part of the United States, period. Point blank, period. They've already expressed that. And you're not going to force them to. You're not Vladimir Putin. You're not Xi Jinping. You're not Kim Jong-un. Neither one of, no, you're not. So, I look for, I don't know why, I just think this is a coup in the making. I look for them to 25th Amendment Trump. I look for all of the people that he got around him to pull a 25th Amendment on him if he goes off the rails too much. Because here's a video that Palki Sharma, I love Palki, she's a beautiful news commentator over in India, and she's funny too, and I just love her. I love the way she presents the news. She brings the news because it's just a different way that she does it that's not done over here in America. But she posted a video about Trump and some of the crazy stuff that he says about science, inaccurate information. And she said that it's the joke of the day, but in reality, the joke is on the people who voted for him. Seriously. The joke's about to be on them, all who voted for him. Because this is not a game. This stuff is real. And this fire that's happening out here in California ain't nothing but a harbinger to what's going to happen during the tribulation. The reason being because of all this wickedness that I just spent all of this time talking about. This is just for this week's news. This goes on, has been going on all of this time, and God's patience has been so, he's just been so abundant in his patience and his mercy and his grace. But as the Bible says, that eventually runs out, and I think that that time is getting close, very close. And I think that what is happening out here in California and all the things that are taking place, all of this increase in wickedness, all of this increase in knowledge that with the Elon Musk and all these people building these supercomputers and them building these this city over in Dubai, this city that is going to be able to reach up in outer space that they're trying to construct in Dubai, what the Bible said in the end times, knowledge will increase. All of these things that's happening, all of these end time eschatological events that are taking place right now, especially now with this whole thing with California and the way Hollywood is burning out here right now. The thing with what's another thing, the most recent thing, the Pope opened up the portals, the doors for Christmas. And I think that just concluded this week, him opening up the 5 portals or something that Pope Francis was doing. All these things is accumulation. It's all of these are harbingers for the great tribulation that is about to happen. And I think it's going to happen pretty soon. These are all harbingers. But this wildfire out here, first thing I thought about when they said it was happening, when we woke up to this news that Los Angeles was on fire, the city of angels, city of fallen angels. And then I thought about that damnation billboard. And then I seen that video of RuPaul with the billboard and all that fire and smoke surrounding it. I said, this ain't nothing but harbingers. All of these are harbingers of what's about to happen. The tribulation is about to take place. And if you think that scene out there that's happening out there in LA, that apocalyptic scene that's taking place right now out there in California is bad, you ain't seen nothing until you have to suffer through the tribulation period. This is why we just try to stress to people who are not saved to please get saved as soon as possible. to save yourself from having to suffer through the tribulation period, because what's going on out there in California will be nothing compared to what is going to happen during the tribulation period. So please, if you are not saved, please make the best decision of your life, death, and eternity. Well, not even death, because we may not even experience death, because the way things are happening, that Jesus is about to come back with all this that's happening. Make the best decision of your life and your eternity to get yourself saved if you have not been saved. Repent of your sins, confess your sins, turn away from your wickedness, get saved, get baptized, blood washed, and born again in the name of Jesus Christ, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Get yourself saved before the tribulation period. Save yourself for what's about to happen, because this is nothing that's happening now. This is nothing compared to what's going to happen during the tribulation period, the 7-year tribulation period that's going to affect the entire world. You are not going to be able to escape any of the suffering that is going to happen during the 7-year tribulation period if you are not raptured with the church. So we say this until we're blue in the face. That's the only thing that we can do, is keep warning people and encouraging people to please get saved as soon as possible. Because we like the Lord, with us, the body of Christ, brothers and sisters in Christ, we don't want nobody to perish. So that's why we do what we do. Alright, y'all, this has been a long video. The video clips are on here. They're very disturbing. Watch them if you want to. If you just don't want to, I mean, it's up to you. I just put the information out there and let you know what's going on, because the Bible says to keep watch, stay vigilant, always pray for wisdom and discernment, and for the strength to endure during these difficult, perilous times. But, this life is finite. It's going to end. This world is finite. It's going to end. And I believe that, like I said, this fire is just a harbinger of what's about to come. All of these things with Trump and these wars and these pandemics and pestilences and this wickedness, all of these things are just harbingers of what's about to come, and it's right around the corner. It's not 100 years. I don't believe it's 100 years away. I don't believe it's 50 years away. I don't believe it's 20 years away. This stuff is right around the corner, in my opinion. So, with that said, y'all, please have a blessed rest of your evening. I know this was a long video, but there was a lot to cover. There's a lot going on. Again, I will see you, if not tomorrow, maybe the day after. But there's so much going on. I had to take a couple of days off because we're dealing with all this ice out here in Kansas City. We're in the midst of a very severe winter storm with this polar vortex that's happening in the Midwest and the East Coast and some parts of the South, that where they get snow. We're experiencing a polar vortex, and so it's really been cold here. And we've been buried in snow and ice in the Midwest here in Kansas City. So, and I think we're expecting some more Friday. So that's the reason why I haven't been on for a couple of days. But y'all, just stay prayed up. Keep your loved ones close. And if your loved ones are, if God say isolate yourself, you sometimes have to isolate and distance yourself if your loved ones are not saved, if they're toxic or whatever. But for those that are, you still pray for your unsaved loved ones, always, so that they can be spared for what's about to take place on this earth. But other than that, y'all, I'm going to bid you all a good evening, and I will be back tomorrow, if not the day after. If you're out here in these extreme, because there's snow on one part of the country, snow and ice on this part of the country, and then there's fire on the other side. There's fire and ice all over America, on different sides of America. So y'all, just be safe out there and be blessed. Okay, all right, peace.
1,600 homes had been destroyed in the Shigatse region, home to 800,000 people. Footage broadcast on state media shows emergency tent settlements operated by soldiers and aid workers. Any survivors still trapped under rubble have already endured a night in freezing temperatures, with the high-altitude region experiencing temperatures as low as 0 Fahrenheit overnight. Experts say people trapped or those without shelter are at risk of rapid hypothermia and may only be able to live for 5 to 10 hours, even if uninjured. The search area for survivors is the size of Cambodia, adding to the enormous pressure on rescuers.
The abuse that occurred to 15-month-old Caleb Collins by his father, Stephen, during July of 2024. The court filing alleges Bailey failed to intervene on more than 2 occasions, that Caleb was physically abused by tortuous means, quote, such as being bound with rope, physically assaulted, and being bound by a rope from aloft with blood and bruising present. The filing says there is photographic evidence of all of this. In the abuse of a corpse charge, the documents state the corpse of Caleb was treated in a way that, quote, outraged ordinary family sensibilities. The document says after the death of Caleb, his body was placed into a bag and stored in an outside storage building for a brief period of time. The records say the final disposal was in an unknown location. As we know, they are still looking for Caleb's body. Other documents reveal photographs and text messages between the mother and father about the abuse and death of Caleb. Again, they are saying this is all documented. Much more on ABC3340.com. Also, reporter Gracie Johnson is in Fayette right now getting reaction. Stoney?
Tough to hear. Cynthia Gould in the newsroom right now. We'll keep you updated. Thank you, Cynthia.
Homes. Neighbors tried but couldn't save one family's home of 24 years.
Makes me want to cry, but it also, in the midst of the dark hour, puts a little ray of love and hope.
All the stuff that's here is irreplaceable, or not. What happened to family is the most important thing.
Just an emotional situation out there. Officials are urging tens of thousands of people to follow the evacuation orders. The LA County Sheriff saying there is nothing worth your life.
Exactly right. Well, one of the hardest hit areas in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles, where the majority of those structures were destroyed.
Scripps News' Max Goldwasser joins us with a first-hand look at the devastation there.
The scene behind me tells the entire story. Another structure, someone's home, burnt to the ground as a result of the Palisades fire that has now claimed at least 1,000 structures in this area after scorching more than 5,000 acres. And if you follow me back this way, it's not just this home right here, the one just next door also recently burnt to the ground, and you can still see the flames and the rest of the rubble that has been charred and burnt to a crisp. This was just moments ago. This was a standing structure, and now nothing left behind. And as you see around me, there are several fire crews in the area. Many of them actually not even from Southern California. These folks here are actually from Northern California. They came down here, arrived in the area at 4 this morning from Santa Clara. And I'm also told there are crews coming from San Diego who are coming to assist in the attack of these flames that have been burning for more than 24 hours now, with wind speeds completely fueling these flames. And I don't know if you could see it very well through the camera, but it's so dense, the smoke around me. It's even seeping under my mask and stinging my eyes, just to give you a sense of what we are experiencing on the ground here. I can tell you from the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire combined, which is burning about 40 miles away, about 70,000 people have been forced to evacuate or are under some sort of evacuation order, and about 28,000 structures, in addition to the thousands that have already been burned, are still at risk. Several people suffering serious injuries, and at least 2 people have lost their lives. It is a difficult scene. I can't even begin to describe what it's like seeing it all firsthand. The pictures, as devastating as they are, really don't do it justice until you are here in person. And it's only just the beginning. As we know, these winds are not going to die down anytime soon. Reporting here in Southern California, I'm Max Goldwasser for Scripps News.
Incredibly intense situation there, Max. Thanks for your reporting. Colorado agencies are stepping up to support California in battling wildfires. Colorado's Division of Fire Prevention and Control is sending its multi-mission aircraft equipped with infrared technology to assist.
With the infrared camera, one of our biggest advantages with that is we're able to see through smoke, right? And so naked eye can't see through smoke and be able to determine exactly where a fire perimeter is or which way it's progressing. And so we're able to do that with our infrared camera and map specifically where that fire edge is, in relation to homes, structures, or values at risk. So that's a big advantage.
They say the aircraft will stay as long as needed, and once Colorado crews arrive, they'll assess if California needs even more support.
Another of the flames closing in around their home.
There's a fire right over our house, so please say some prayers for us. I think it's a mandatory evacuation, and I'm gonna pack up here. So hopefully we don't have to leave, but all the schools are being evacuated and there's flames right now.
All right, for real, Skipper, stop. Let's go. Spencer wrote in the caption, "Nightmare come true." In his Snapchat stories, he tracked the progress of the fire at one point, telling his followers the flames had reached his home.
Update, I'm watching our house burn down on the security cameras.
Pratt also shared these images from his home security cameras as the fire burned. Actress Mira Sorvino shared several images and videos of a dark sky full of smoke lit orange by the flames below.
Another Malibu fire. The one on the right seems hotter even.
Look how fast though the wind is picking up.
Actor James Woods did an interview on CNN where he got emotional, speaking about his 94-year-old neighbor who was rescued just in time.
There was so much chaos. It was like an inferno. Every house was on fire around us. And, he got him out and the house burned down about an hour later. He would have been in there alone. It was just... And then Robert called us and told us that house had gone and the house below that and then the house on the other side. And then at 11:49 last night, all the smoke alarms in our house alerted our phones that our house that we had just renovated for 3 years and had just finally moved into about 3 months ago. All the smoke alarms are going off, so that's hardly a good sign. So I'm not sure, but it wouldn't make any difference because the whole street's burned down. So I mean, even if you go back to your home, look, we knew what was coming, and when we were out on our driveway, I looked and the smoke was so black. It was a house across the street was on fire. The house next door was on fire, and all the black smoke was down there, and the schools are down there. And I said to Sarah, we can't go down there because they're trying to evacuate the schools, and we'll just be in the way. And here's the thing that's so important. People have got to evacuate when they tell you to evacuate. Because if you don't evacuate and you think you're going to be out there with your little garden hose, stopping a conflagration with flames 80 feet high in 90-mile-an-hour winds, you're not going to be helping. You're just going to be stopping the firefighters who do such an amazing job.
Jamie Lee Curtis wrote on her Instagram in part, "My community and possibly my home is on fire. My family is safe. Many of my friends will lose their homes." She went on to say, "I'm grateful to the firefighters and all of the good Samaritans who are helping people get out of the way of the blaze." Actor Cary Elwes shared this video of the fire burning as he evacuated Malibu. Actor Dan Levy shared this image in his Instagram stories, writing, "This is the view from my window this morning, heartbroken for my family, my friends, and the people of LA affected by these catastrophic fires." Mandy Moore shared with fans that she and her family were able to evacuate. Sharing a photo of herself with one of her sons, she said she was trying to shield them from the immense sadness and worry she felt, also admitting she didn't know if their home made it. Joey King wrote a message in her Instagram stories, thanking firefighters and first responders, also saying in part, This is such a devastating time for the residents of LA. I hope everyone who is affected is safely evacuated. My heart is breaking for everyone who is impacted by these terrible fires. And Billie Eilish shared a post by the Los Angeles Fire Department, writing in her stories, "What's going on in LA right now is so scary and devastating." She also shared a link to the fire department where her followers could find up-to-date information.
Mother Stephen and her other child, Riley Collins. Stephen Collins and the child died, but Bailey survived. At the time, investigators said Bailey had another child, which had not been seen in months. The week before Christmas, there was a search of the couple's Winfield home. Then yesterday, prosecutors filed 4 charges against Wendy Bailey. They included the corpse abuse count, aggravated child abuse, criminally negligent homicide, and domestic violence. That complaint lays out text between mother Wendy Bailey and the 15-month-old's father. Notified by Stephen Collins, it says, via message that he was going to kill Caleb Collins, followed by photographs of Caleb Collins hanging aloft with a rope with blood present on his body, and a photo of Caleb Collins lying supine on the floor with extreme bruising present. Now, the criminally negligent homicide count stems from Riley Collins being improperly restrained during the December 8th wreck, which killed the 2-year-old. Wendy Bailey is being held in the Fayette County Jail with an expected bond hearing in the coming days. Jarvis.
Court documents say Dr. Leedy hid behind a cloak of anonymity, and a lot of the details in these alleged crimes are too graphic to share.
The allegations against a longtime Tampa Bay doctor are shocking.
This would be absolutely disgusting and horrific to a new level.
Dr. Stephen Leedy is accused of targeting at least 10 children online. The U.S. Attorney's Office says through sexually explicit chats, Leedy would instruct the children to do a variety of sex acts on video calls with him. A court motion says Leedy also instructed the children to cut, choke, and hang themselves, all while under the guise of his username, MaximumUncle, #9112.
Many kids have very positive images of an uncle. They feel like they can trust an uncle. And from what we know, he utilized that kind of common knowledge to gain trust and to manipulate young kids.
One of the most egregious allegations surrounds the death of one of those victims, a 13-year-old girl. Investigators say the young girl was found dead in her bathroom in front of her phone, appearing to have hanged herself. The motion says investigators found conversations and video chats with Leedy telling her to harm herself. Advocates at the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay call this master manipulation.
It is about power and control, and that is what that individual did to these children, is that elicited power and control over these kids and groomed them.
In a Google search, Leedy's photo appears associated with the Florida Hospice and Palliative Care Association, but the link directs you to a page that doesn't exist. It's not clear where Leedy was currently employed, but Empath Health confirms he was previously the chief medical officer at Tidewell Hospice. The organization confirms Leedy hasn't been employed there for more than 10 years.
And he was trusted in the community. He had a lot of skill sets, and in this double life that he led, unfortunately, he utilized those skill sets to really victimize innocent children in our community.
Leedy's attorneys say he adamantly denies the charges, saying in a statement, quote, "It is particularly important in moments like this when someone is being accused of very troubling allegations that we afford him the presumption of innocence. We will be entering a not guilty plea at the earliest opportunity and look forward to vigorously defending Dr. Leedy in court." The Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County also released a statement on Tuesday. Leedy's wife, Linda Leedy, has served as the chief administrative officer for the past decade and was shocked by the allegations against her husband. The JWB's CEO said in part, quote, "While this news leaves us stunned and saddened for Ms. Leedy, her family, and any potential victims in this case, I have the utmost confidence in her ability to continue to carry out JWB's mission of strengthening the lives of our county's children and families."
And the Crisis Center encourages families to talk about these types of situations with their kids. They also want people to know you can call 211 for help 24/7 for you or anyone else you know who needs help. Now, Leedy is in U.S. Marshal custody in Atlanta. He's expected to be brought back here to Tampa. The Department of Justice does not release mugshots under its policy. Mark.
Sure. Let's hope anybody who needs it utilizes that 211 resource for sure. Kylie, thanks much.
Well, it is.
First of all, your thoughts on this case and just how horrible it is that a nurse, someone in your profession, would harm a child like that, a newborn.
Yeah, Isaiah, very disturbing news indeed. Our first, the oath that we take is do no harm, right? And so when I hear of stories like this is a truly disrupting and really sad, shocking news that I hear from somebody who we would help or we would hope is helping the child, somebody who's in the NICU where they're sick, they've got other things going on. The last thing you want to worry about is your nurse, somebody who you trust, doing harm to a child. And so I am very saddened to hear this news, and I hope that this person is not able to practice medicine if this is truly, in fact, this person was causing harm to innocent children and babies.
Now, we know she was accused initially by the hospital internally when they said she may have harmed 3 other children, but then a year passed by, she was suspended, a year passed by, and they brought her back. Was that a mistake?
It was, Isaiah. I mean, as long as you have somebody who has potentially caused harm, this should have raised some flags for the hospital. They should have taken more initiatives and perhaps not brought this person back. She was on administrative leave for 1 year. She was paid supposedly around for all this time as well that she was gone. And then the hospital did its job of checking to see if there was something. I just don't think they did enough. I don't think they did enough investigation. I know that hospitals have ethical boards and committees. Sometimes, you know, when these sorts of bigger allegations happen, it's the hospital's responsibility to make sure that they either have a third party, somebody else that's reviewing this to make sure that everything is checked off and there was no malicious harm that was involved in this.
From your research, what exactly did she do to some of the children?
From what I could see and from some of the x-rays of these children that were obtained, what I saw was she was not handling them in the right way and maybe being too rough with them or maybe pulling on a leg or something that causes either a dislocation or a fracture or something. So, you know, again, we don't have any strong evidence, and these are all accusations and allegations that we have so far, but I think it's the hospitals and even the now federal government's job to really research this and make sure that this person does not practice and does not harm anybody else if this was truly in fact the case.
And I want to make it clear what prosecutors are saying. You're saying that she may have handled them roughly. They said she maliciously, meaning she intended to wound. Harm a child with felony child abuse and neglect in connection with an incident that took place in November 2024. And of course, now there are possibly 7 other children. So the prosecutors there in Virginia are not saying she handled them rough. They're saying she maliciously, with intent, tried to harm these children. And parents are just upset. And some of those parents said the hospital system failed them. Would you agree with that?
I would, Isaiah. I think that unless we have other third parties and other people that have investigated this telling us, yes, this person is safe and there was no malicious harm that was involved in this on purpose, you know, if they cannot prove that, then this person should not have been allowed back into the hospital setting.
tells me Roger Golubski ruined her life, and now she'll never get the chance to face him in court and tell him how he made her feel. The memories of what he did still haunt her to this day.
Do you think justice has been served?
No, not completely. Because I don't think nobody that wasn't guilty would have killed themselves. And so he was guilty.
Ophelia Williams says Roger Golubski has taken everything from her.
I mean, it's funny because what he told me, it happened to him.
Williams says Golubski came to her home while on duty more than 25 years ago and sexually assaulted her after her 14-year-old sons were arrested.
He knew I was telling the truth. And he couldn't handle the truth. And so he's dead.
Prosecutors say for years, female residents of KCK's low-income neighborhoods, many of who were African American, lived in fear they too would be subject to Golubski's threats and sexual demands.
Because the same thing that he told me, that if I told anybody what he could do to me, kill me or take me somewhere, kill me or have somebody kill me, it was either he died or I died.
A lawsuit filed in September claims Golubski used his position of privilege as a police detective to protect drug dealers and sex traffickers from law enforcement. Williams raises the question of how privilege affected the case leading up to his death.
Do you think they would have let this black cop have a gun? But he's white. So the question is, where he get a gun from?
Although the case has now been dismissed, Williams says the fight isn't over. Her 6 granddaughters and 2 sons currently behind bars are what keeps her going.
I'm not a quitter. I'm not running. You know. And I sure in the hell ain't gonna take my own life.
Now, we want to be clear. You just heard Ophelia Williams say Roger Golubski died by suicide. KCTV5 is working to confirm that independently. What we know is Golubski was found dead in his home by gunshot wound, and there was no foul play. However, the KBI says they can't confirm this was suicide until the autopsy results come back. As for Williams, she says she is asking for accountability of all law enforcement involved in covering Golubski's tracks. In KCK, Nigel Hood, KCTV5.
Yeah, your heart goes out to these victims, but also I can't imagine what Ophelia went through, and now she's managing to stay somewhat positive as she deals with this news. Incredible. Thank you so much, Nija. And days before President-elect takes office, you're looking at some of that footage now. Hundreds right now making that long trek north on foot. The majority of migrants in this caravan are Venezuelan. According to my contacts, those migrants are headed towards that Juarez, Mexico area that's just right across El Paso. But the chances of that caravan actually reaching the U.S. border, well, that's slim to none, with Mexicans stepping up their own enforcement under Operation Carousel. That's why we are seeing those smaller groups still arrive to the U.S. border. Now, authorities in Mexico say that their shelters across the country are starting to see an uptick of new arrivals. This has prompted Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to address the issue of deportations with the incoming Trump administration. President Sheinbaum making a surprising reversal on a policy. She just said last month that Mexico would push the United States to send non-Mexican deportees to their countries of origin. She has completely reversed on that position and says that Mexico is now open to accepting those foreign nationals. So an interesting development. Another tidbit that I got from some of my sources is that Mexican immigration authorities are part of this kind of new tactic to break up those caravans. They are issuing these migrants 20-day humanitarian visas that would allow migrants to legally travel through Mexico and reach the U.S. border and either enter illegally or at least give them a chance to apply for an appointment on the CBP One app, Connell.
I'll go back to what you're talking about, President Sheinbaum. That is an interesting development in terms of accepting people who are not Mexican. What are they doing? Are they doing something to prepare? I mean, that would be What are you hearing on the Mexican side about it?
So at least from the U.S. side right now, Connor, this would be a major win for the Trump administration. Now, on the Mexican side, they haven't revealed the exact details on how they will take in those foreign nationals. This comes as Mexico did open up 25 new shelters across the country to accept deported Mexican nationals. So it's unclear if they will open up additional shelters for foreign nationals. I did speak with an immigration attorney here in the U.S. who represents Venezuelan nationals. He says this new development, he believes, will lead to migrants actually self-deporting to their home countries to avoid the dangers of Mexico. Take a listen.
These foreign nationals are going to find it more desirable to be in their home country than it is to be in Mexico. And they'll eventually go back to their home country. And that's what we've seen in the past, in the last Trump administration, when they implemented the MPP program. And so I don't doubt that that's going to happen again.
And speaking with my sources in those Mexican border towns like Tijuana and Matamoros, they say expect migrants to rush to the border. Some will try to enter illegally before Trump takes office, and others will try to schedule an appointment on that CBP One app. Migrants do fear that that CBP One app will end on day one of Trump taking office, Connell.
All right, good reporting on all of this. Jorge covering a lot of ground. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
¿Para dónde vas aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Arlington, Texas.
¿Qué país vienes?
Venezuela.
¿Para dónde vas aquí en los Estados Unidos? ¿Dónde?
Texas. Venezuela, para San Antonio, Texas. Venezuela, San Antonio, Texas. Aristide II Cando Mejía, para San Antonio, Texas.
Denver, Colorado.
¿De qué país vienes?
Venezuela.
Venezuela, Nueva York.
Colombia, Nueva York.
All right, so let's bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez, because while all of this was playing out, we also had the next chapter of American governmental leadership playing out as well. President-elect Donald Trump speaking in a wide-ranging news conference from Mar-a-Lago, and it is a contrast in approaches. Is it not a much different leader coming into the White House than the one the nation pays tribute today in Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, I think many would agree with that. And also, speaking about Jimmy Carter, former President Carter, the president-elect did refer to him a few times during this, as you said, very wide-ranging press conference. He referred to him and was critical of his policy in, quote, giving away the Panama Canal Zone during his tenure, and said it was part of his terrible legacy. Saying this because of course, he has discussed about taking the Panama Canal Zone back in being under U.S. control. He was critical of Chinese interference in the zone. He's saying that he essentially operated anyway, and was very critical of Panama overall and how they treat the U.S. Within that zone, Reed. And also, I always thought it was notable that he also talked about changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. A very wide-ranging press conference indeed.
One of the headlines that came out of that news conference that I thought was very telling is when one of our peers was able to ask him about the return of the hostages that were taken by Hamas on October 7th. He was asked, are you awaiting Inauguration Day for those hostages to be released, or would you like them to be released before? And something he said is, if they are not released before Inauguration Day in the next 2 weeks, all hell will break loose in the Middle East. How did you read that, Finn?
Yeah, it's reiterating what he's essentially said before, but more pronounced with only 13 days until he is sworn in as the next president of the United States. But he also had Steve Witkoff, who he has named as Middle East envoy, and his emissary, who had just returned from the Middle East, and said in describing the negotiations about the hostages, said that Witkoff said that he had hoped that there would be some news to announce on Inauguration Day. And the president-elect also said, he didn't mean to interfere with the negotiations, but said emphatically that all hell would break loose if these hostages were not released from Hamas. So very strong, emphatic words there, and also with just less than 2 weeks until this new administration, a reminder of the incoming, more robust foreign policy, more aggressive foreign policy that Donald Trump has.
Gomez, CBS News political director, always great to talk to you. I know that between now and the dinner time headlines, we'll have an opportunity, our entire political team, to go through all of the many headlines that were produced out of what the president-elect had to say from Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for getting the conversation started today on CBS News 24.
Through the presser, he again defended his claim that acquiring Greenland is necessary for America's national security. The Republican also floated the claim that Denmark might not have legal rights in Greenland, even though there's an overall global recognition of Denmark's sovereignty over the island.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security.
Trump's remarks came as his eldest son landed in Greenland's capital on a personal trip Tuesday. Visiting the autonomous Danish territory, Trump Jr. also had a phone call with his father, who fueled concerns about Russian and Chinese ships sailing around the island.
What happened to my son, and he's a real hunter, fisherman, and you love. And I thought it'd be great to go up there with his two very talented friends and the other group, a lot of other people. So I just want to say that it's a very special place. It needs security for itself, but it also needs security very much for the world. The location really, you see the people and the ships sailing around, and they're not the right ships, and they're not the ships you want to know about. So we need security, and our country needs it, and the whole world.
Meanwhile, Panama, Denmark, and Greenland have firmly rejected any idea of giving up territory. Panama's foreign minister reaffirmed his nation's control over the canal, saying its sovereignty is non-negotiable.
Our canal's sovereignty is not negotiable and is part of our history of struggle and an irreversible conquest. Our canal has the mission to serve humanity and its trade. That is one of the values that Panamanians offer to the world, giving guarantee to the international community not to take part, nor be an active part of any conflict. The only hands that control the canal are Panamanian, and it will continue to be so. We are a country open to dialogue today and always, to investments and good relations, but with the clear slogan that the homeland is first.
And Denmark's prime minister said Greenland belongs to its citizens and the world's largest island is not for sale.
Of course, I want to say some words to the discussion taking place about Greenland right now. I want to make it very clear that seen with the eyes of the Danish government, Greenland is for the Greenlandic people. It is a very proud people, a language and culture. It is a people that is their own. And as the chairman of the government of Greenland, Meuti Gede, has stated before, Greenland is not for sale.
However, the Danish prime minister added that the United States is a strong ally of both Denmark and Greenland, and its investment in the territories are certainly welcome. Now, Donald Trump did not limit himself to the Panama Canal in Greenland, as he also suggested renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Trump's latest remarks are a stark reminder of his foreign policy that comes with the mind of a real estate developer wanting to expand American territory with zero concern about international law. Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office is imminent. He will soon take the oath of office and once again lead the nation.
God spared my life for a reason.
President-elect Donald Trump's first priority, tackling illegal immigration and securing the nation's borders.
We're going to fix our borders.
The incoming administration has prioritized the Russia-Ukraine war. Can they succeed in ending one of the world's most challenging conflicts?
I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled.
And as he returns to the White House, will Donald Trump resume a bruising trade war with the world's second largest economy, China?
If China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs.
All of this and more right here on First Post America.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.
Let me introduce Professor Trump.
But the 625 million acres, people can't realize it's like the whole ocean. It's called rain. Comes down from heaven, and they want to do no water comes out of the shower. It goes drip, drip, drip. So what happens? You're in the shower 10 times as long, you know. They're dangerous. You see what's happening up in the Massachusetts area with the whales, where they had 2 whales wash ashore in, I think, a 17-year period. And now they had 14 this season. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously. Out of your homes and apartments, he wants them to be replaced by essentially electric heaters. We're also at a golden age of common sense.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.
A first-of-a-kind sports show that's played on a different turf. A first-of-a-kind sports show that will always come up with a winner. Are you looking for perspectives that go beyond the scoreline? Hi, I'm Rupa Ramani, and catch a 360-degree view of the sporting world with me here on First Post in our special First Sports.